My first host Eric here is talking with famous people. I'm gonna, if this live stream doesn't work like the last live stream didn't work, then I will, okay, it looks like it is working. Good. So, I'm here, I'm queer, I don't want any more bears, as a famous quote from The Simpsons once said. And I just got back from the weed store, which is always nice. I replenished my weed supplies. I'm ready to smoke some bong rips. I'm ready to answer some questions in the Q&A. I just took a 10 milligram of Adderall, so it's got a little bit of pep in my step. Not much, but a little bit. Thank God Sheila's here. We've been waiting, Sheila. I was like, when is Sheila getting here? Because until Sheila is here, the party has not started. The party doesn't start till I walk in. Tick tock. Kesha's a genius, by the way. In case people aren't aware of this, Kesha is an absolute genius. And I think people don't appreciate her genius enough. She's like the one that I'm most impressed with of the Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, who else is in? Would you classify in that set of people, you know? I don't know. But the point is, I really like Kesha. She's got some great songs. Plus, unlike the other ones, she has a $sign in her name. And, you know, that makes her money. Money. Any Kesha fans in the house? Can I get a what? I'm not sensing a lot of what for the Kesha. Anyway, I like her a lot. I've got the weed sweats because it's the first time I've had weed all day. I went down to the weed store that I normally go to called Pomona Church of Tranquility, and there's some fire trucks in front of it, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I got out, and they were shutting the place down. Why they needed fire trucks is beyond me, but they were shutting the place down, and they had code compliance people there, and they were locking the doors and stuff. I wish I had given them a piece of my mind, but I didn't really think about it until I walked away. So anyway, then I went down to this new weed store called, I'll answer your question in 1 second, Sheila. I don't know what it's called, but they've only been open a couple of days. It's like all these pop-up pot shops that get shut down, and then they'll open up someplace else, or a different one will open up someplace else, and they'll stay open for like a month or two, and then they'll get shut down again. So if NI is all about what a person wants, that's not what NI is all about at all. NI is about coalescing complex things down into the truth. It's absolutely not that. NI is an epistemology function. It's a knowing function that says, I know from experience. So a great distinction of NISI is what happened to me in the car just yesterday or the other day. And what happened was this. I got in the car to go get Ruben from court where he was. I dropped him off and I went back to pick him up. As I was leaving, as I was driving down the street, I was thinking about, I shifted my thoughts from where I was going to get Ruben to what else I was going to do after I'd gotten him. Namely, I wanted to swing by some place downtown and get iron-on vinyl cheap. It's really expensive if you buy like craft stores and stuff. Anyhow, I was thinking about different places I could go down there and the garment district and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden I realized, as I often do when I'm in the car, that I had no idea where I was going. Like, where am I going? Now, an NI person would have looked to what they were just thinking about, probably. The fact that they were heading downtown into the garment district and stuff like that, and used that to conclude where they were going. Oh, that's right. I'm heading downtown. Why am I heading downtown? To get Ruben. Oh, okay. So that's what I'm going to do. Instead, I use SI. So what I did was like, where am I going? And I reached back in my mind and I thought back to when I was at the house right before I had left, trying to figure out when I had made the decision and what I had said or whatever as to where I was going. And I remembered back in my garage, and I was like, okay, where am I going? Oh, I was sitting with Kim, and then I'm like, oh, I got to go get Ruben. Oh, that's right, I'm going to get Ruben. Okay, so that's an SI way of knowing where I was going. And the reason I knew where I was going that way, even though I had all this NI reality already in my consciousness that would have told me that information, because I didn't link it to a memory, I didn't know where I was going until I remembered where I was going. I think that's very telling about NI and SI, and it's one of the disadvantages of SI. But there are advantages to both, of course. So are countervalued FE people extra fearful of being manipulated? I don't think so necessarily. That's a good question and an interesting one. That would be ESFP and ENFP. Are they particularly worried about being manipulated? I would guess 8th slot FE would be particularly on the lookout for manipulation. ENFJ partially because they do it, and ENTJ, I mean, not ENFJ, I'm sorry, ENTJ and ESTJ. ENFJ partly because, I mean, ENTJ partly because they do it, ESTJ just because they know they're not that good with the NE. Just like I'm fearful of being made fun of and stuff like that. I don't want to be teased and taunted or made, I don't want to be ridiculed. Now note, I will sometimes ridicule others, which is probably not okay. Like I was kind of ridiculing C.S. Joseph. However, I have some clear rules about that, which are, if you've got more subscribers than I do, then you're fair game. Because, I mean, you've got 12,000 people subscribing to you and looking to you for wisdom for some reason, then you better be right, or else you're fair game. If someone has NI first, does FE really show more when someone is talking and acting, since it is extroverted and NI is more internal and having such time grasping NI? NI can be difficult to grasp, I guess. You should think about game shows also when thinking about NI. You know, Wheel of Fortune is an NI game show where you get a few letters, and the clue is it's a phrase, and you're waiting for your NI to collapse it. You're never going to figure it out logically. You might ideate it out eventually. Like if I can NE it, well, I'll try a bunch of different possibilities and see. But really, you're waiting for NI to kick in and tell you what it is. Boom, all of a sudden you know. That's an NI moment. It's one that everybody has some degree of NI. So, Hero Lamb, you have 2,000 subscribers and no videos. Well, I mean, did you ever have any videos? And then if you think about other kind of game shows that are less like that, Jeopardy is more of an SI game show. It says, okay, well, do you remember all of these facts? Do you remember a bunch of shit? So who's going to be best at Jeopardy? Probably ESTJ or well, probably ESTJ, potentially ESFJ, I guess, but probably not. Let's see. The darkest one. I'm an ESFP. Congratulations. Dawson K, where do ENFP and ESFP disconnect as far as getting along? What makes the difference between them? Is it how they communicate? Yeah, it's the intuitive. Well, it's the same way that ESTP and ENTP don't necessarily get along. The intuitive thinks what matters is meaning, and the sensor thinks what matters is experience. And even though they have the same tool function, and they can work side by side in a way, but they'll come to clash anytime. I mean, both parties think that their dominant function is the proper way to act. So it's like ESFP thinks the proper way to act is with SE. ENFP thinks the proper way to act is with extroverted intuition. And that will cause conflict at some point. You have 300 subscribers? Good job, LJ. I mean, I remember when I first got to 100 subscribers, I was fucking stoked. I was unbelievably stoked. And I got to 1,000 before they did that switch where they didn't let you monetize till after 1,000. So I've been monetized the whole time. But by the time they made that switch, I was well over 1,000, so I was safe. In your recent video, the functions one, the one before the book, I think, what did you mean by representative knowing for NI? I'll get to your question in a second, Nanos. Representative knowing just means it's representational. I think I said representational, but I might have said representative, but I think I said representational. It's representational knowing in the sense that you're knowing about the world via your representations of it. So, for example, if there's a bunch of clues in a room and Sherlock Holmes goes, "Elementary, my dear Watson, it's this." What he's using is what he knows about the world rather than what he knows from experience. He's saying, well, I know that only men who work in the blah industry have this kind of wear on the bottom of their foot, their shoe, right? And so because I see this footprint here, it means he works in that industry because of some peculiarity of that industry that I know about that would, if I had thought about it before, leave exactly this sort of wear pattern on the bottom of a shoe. Now, I hadn't thought about it before. Sherlock Holmes would be an NI user for sure. NI user. Definitely pure NI, because he's going, I don't know from experience, having worked in that industry, that it leaves this pattern on the bottom of your shoe. I know because I happen to know about that industry, and my NI has pieced together something about that industry that would leave this wear pattern on the bottom of the shoe, and these other various clues that were extant, available for anybody to look at, but only somebody with very strong introverted intuition would piece them all together to come to the correct conclusion. That's NI. So when people talk about NI being like magic or something, what they mean is that it's like people are able to take disparate clues, and where other people would see no pattern at all, the NI person will go, here's the pattern. All right, so let me go on to the next question. And that's representational because it's not from their experience, right? It's representational of the world to know these sort of like things about it and deduce these rules and stuff. Oh, I wasn't targeting you. You just got type policed. That's different. Anybody can get type policed. I didn't go out of my way to say LJ's wrong and blah 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 blah, like in a general video. Maybe they're excited for what you might have. Yeah, maybe. Hey, maybe you're a lamb. You're such a good chatter and commenter that people are like, I'm subscribing to this guy because he might make a video eventually. Maybe they're excited for what you hate Jeopardy, love Wheel of Fortune. My memory sucks short term and long term. I'll be in memory care in no time. It actually doesn't probably work like that. My mom, who's an ISFJ, SI-DOM, did everything possibly imaginable correct to prevent any kind of mental decay. Did Sudoku and all that kind of shit, and she still got dementia. Let's see. Zanzi, what's going on? I just arrived. Not much. Black Celine, hello, bro. Nero, do you think mirror types can have a good relationship? Nuanced answer, please. Mirror types. You'll have to give me an example of which two pairings are mirror types. Is it me and ESTP? ENTP and ESTP? Sherlock Holmes is a fiction as if someone had no attentional limitations. Right. There's nobody's NI is that good. You have to write it that way. Nobody can see like a feather over there and a blah over there and just know so much about the world that they just sort of conclude all this shit. It's a fictional character for sure. This guy keeps farting. Who's this guy? Me? I don't keep farting. NE versus SE. Which function makes the best comedians? Tell me who INTP's mirror type is then. Is that ENTP? Or tell me who INTP's mirror type is and I'll talk about the mirror thing. Well, Sherlock Holmes would have to be, I would say, an INFJ probably, or possibly an INTJ. What are your thoughts on the flat Earth? I'll get back to your question, Fate, in a second. Well, I don't know what to say about the flat Earth. Our question is, why do people want to believe the Earth is flat, or have a position on it either way? Really, I mean, my position is the Earth is a sphere-ish thing, but it doesn't. It's not meaningful to my life at all that it be that, really. So, NE versus SE, which function makes the best comedians? Extroverted intuition, of course. SE comedy is slapstick. Like, The Three Stooges is SE comedy. Let's see, who else is SE comedy? It's terrible, in my opinion. INTP and ENTJ are mirrors? Okay, so you're looking at TE where TI is, NI where NE is, SC where SI is, and FI where FE is. Okay. Well, in terms of a relationship, now I think that in terms of a non-sexual relationship, I would say that INTPs and ENTJs would have a very good working relationship, probably. The third slot SE of the ENTJ would bring a lot of, would be a manner of impetus that would help drive the INTP to accomplish things, ultimately. Because if they're teaming up together, the ENTJs need to get shit done is going to end up framing the experience for both of them. The INTP's willingness to deliberate indefinitely needs to be checked in some capacity. So the ENTJ will do that successfully for the INTP, I think. And the combination of the TE and the TI, yes, we are at the moment, black ceiling. The combination of the TE and the TI in dominant slots means they're going to be a very effective pair. If you put an INTP and an ENTJ together at the head of a business, for example, you'll probably be in pretty good shape. The INTP will make sure that none of the ideation they provide allows them to get away from, I guess, the core issues. ENTJ has a tendency to clasp onto things with their NI tool function. So INTP is a better partner for ENTJ than ENTP, because ENTP will convince ENTJ to do something stupid, frankly. Kaiser trolls everybody, yes. He tries to troll me too, but he doesn't successfully do that. Are INTJs less careful with presentation of their intuition compared with INFJs? Also, can TE be adapted to logic by some systemized means? No. The second question is no. TE is particularist, so you cannot come up with a systemized means of doing TE. And it's contraindicated definitionally. And it's an excellent question. The first question, I would say, yeah, they're less careful with presentation, but they're also less inclined to present in general. So it probably sort of balances out. Like, INTJs don't really care about how or whether they successfully communicate things to you, except insofar as their communication is instrumental to some other goal. So for them, FE is always instrumental, just like SE. Well, for them, it's 7th slot. For INTJs, it's, to the extent that it exists at all, it's instrumental. And it's one of those things that they don't present things so that they can get the praise or recognition from others at all. It doesn't seem to matter to them at all. Let's see what's next. How are your debate students getting on? Anything making you particularly proud lately? You know, I've had a year in which I haven't competed at all yet. It's been a really off year, like in terms of number of students and competitors and stuff. I've got a couple of private clients that I'm working with on the regular. One of them who's pretty promising. He's a 7th grader, and the thing is, my debaters are all competing for somebody else, except this upcoming February 16th, I'm taking a group from my UMICAN class to Cal Lutheran, and they'll compete in LD there as well. So basically, I don't have any beasts or anything. The 7th grader that I'm working with privately is probably the most promising student I have, and he's pretty promising. I think he's probably an INTP, but he could. Yeah, I think he's probably an INTP. He's getting better fast, and he could be an ENTP actually, though, because he doesn't necessarily listen that well. Like, he gets some things kind of wrong, and then I have to fix it, and I go, no, you have to actually pay attention to the details of what I'm saying. You know, like, no, that half-assed impersonation of what I said is not what I said, and it's not what you should say. Do I think Louis C.K. would be an intuitive? Yes. Probably an INFJ or an ENFJ, maybe. What would be the best way for an ENTP to remain in flow and get shit done more efficiently? Adderall. Simple answer, frankly, it's Adderall. Do you believe that an unhealthy type acts like its shadow? Let's see. The shadow would just be whatever's on the backside. Is that the same as mirror? Like, when we're talking about the mirror relationship, do you think that that's the same thing as acting like its shadow type? If you answer that, Bruce Wayne, then I'll answer the question. So basically, I think he's talking about 2 types that have the same order. Okay. All right. Then if that's the case, I would say no. Like, Kim is sometimes an unhealthy ISFJ. She's got some baggage and shit happened to her, and she got some damage, and that's fine. When she's an unhealthy ISFJ, what that means is she's using her SI dominant nature to cut off possibilities for positive things because she's had negative previous experiences that she's linking to. And what else it means is she's using her extroverted feeling tool function, the stick end of it rather than the carrot end of it. So she's trying to shame me all the time into doing stuff or beat me up about shit rather than dealing with me respectfully or something. And then she's sort of insisting that her TI validation be validated without actually doing any TI work. And then she's basically locked down her NE so that it's not helping at all. That's an unhealthy ISFJ. She's still SI, FE, TI, NE, but she's using the wrong end of each one, basically. She's using it wrong. She's using it to ill effect. An unhealthy ENTJ, well, they'd be using their TE in a way that doesn't allow their 8th slot FE to come out to play very much. So they'd be trying to force their way on people a lot, and they'd be using their NI to insist that one path is right and stick to it regardless of contrary data. They'd be trying to use their FI wrong. In other words, they'd be achieving validation with their FI, not in a real way like that says, okay, I've achieved what I really want, but trying to force what they've achieved to be what they want or something like that. Yeah, I think an unhealthy type does use their functions in a negative way. And I think that every function can be used in bad ways and in good ways, right? It's not used really, but what I'm saying is, if I'm paying attention to my past is full of bad shit, I'm going to make a lot of negative links unless I actively choose to try to focus more on past positive things and to project from those instead. You have a choice, right? You can be willful in your execution of attention, and you should be willful in your execution of attention. So if you're unhealthy, that means you're attending via your attentional habits in ways that are highlighting negative shit and or using the negative ends of things. It's like, you might say that when I'm beaten up on somebody like I was in the C.S. Joseph videos, that's an unhealthy manifestation of an ENTP. And in that regard, it's me going wild with my NETI, only caring about sort of audience perception on one vector for my FE. Like, well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm right or smart or dominant or something, but not really caring whether they think I'm nice or pleasant, right? So you could say that's an unhealthy expression of ENTP. It's certainly not my most healthy expression, but I with my polar FI, it's like, it's pretty easy for me to not really care very much. So I got to be careful, Am I stoned? Not particularly. I'm trying to get stoned, but right now I'm in the middle of chatting so much that I keep forgetting to pull bong rips. So thank you for the reminder, the man. Okay. Is C.S. Joseph an unhealthy ENTJ? No, I think he's quite a healthy ENTJ, frankly. Do you find this true with yourself? Darian Ardo suggests that doing conversations, high TI users have a hard time listening to people, while high FI users are the best listeners. I disagree with that entirely. I am an amazingly good listener when it comes to hearing what you've said and being able to repeat it back to you. And that's TI. So do I listen to what people say? Absolutely. The difference is FI people listen to what you mean. It's like some TEFI person in the comments on the C.S. Joseph videos said, I'd said in the video, this is his content and it means what it says. And he said in his comment, that chart doesn't say all it means, Eric. And I pointed out, I didn't say it says all it means. I said it means what it says. There's a big difference, right? FI people are inclined to think that words are there to express meaning that exists outside of the words, whereas TI people understand or believe to be the case that the words express the meaning. The meaning doesn't express something. The words don't express something within you that's a meaning that needs to get out. They express the meaning that they carry, namely that words mean what they say. I mean, I think FE DOMs are just as attuned or more attuned to tone, inflection, etc. They're the ones who focus most on display and presentational shit that has social impacts. The FI user is also aware of the individual's emotional state, but they're focused on the individual's emotional state. They're not focused on those display things, except insofar as it is revelatory about the individual's emotional state. Whereas FE people are focused on the display things in terms of how it's revelatory of the person's relating to other people, which is a different situation kind of. Would I agree that Batman is an ISTJ? Had never thought about it before, but now that you mention it, absolutely I would. People keep telling me I'm an INTP. How do I verify that? Well, you can pay me $60 if you want, or $100 if you're rich. Pay me $100. And I'll type you in a 75-minute session where I'll ask you questions, talk to you and stuff, and tell you what type you are. I'll be able to tell you no problem if you're an INTP or not. That's an easy question. Am I actually an INTP? The answer will either be yes, you definitely are, or no, you definitely are not. No, I'm not holding the wine bottle. I don't drink any alcohol, Black Ceiling. I haven't drank any alcohol for over 5 years. I've been sober for over 5 years. The only drugs I do are really, usually, are marijuana, which is recommended by a doctor. I got a medical recommendation for it. And Adderall, which is prescribed by a doctor. So when people say I do drugs, not really. I mean, I'm just following the advice of my medical professionals. Do you want me questioning the prescription drugs you're prescribed? Yeah, so it's just interesting. I got this reputation as a drug addict or something like that. But I'm just doing the medications I've been prescribed. Let's see. I've been told to be INTJ. I've been told INTJ also, but the functions are so totally different, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's easy to tell the difference between INTJ and INTP. The online tests, well, one thing that they're at a disadvantage of, that's not anybody's fault, but you can't make a test that's text-based that also pays attention to vocal inflections and stuff. INTJs all talk a certain way. They don't all talk exactly the same, but they all have a certain cadence to their communication that makes me go almost right away. That makes me go INTJ probably. So when people you meet seem to rub you the wrong way, what order of functions, say 3, 6, 2, 8? People who rub you the wrong way are probably going to have your tool function as their polar. It's that simple. If you're whatever your tool function is, if you're like, I'm a TI user, and the people who are going to rub me the wrong way and I'm going to get into conflict with as a TI tool user are people who have TI polar. In other words, they have the other judging function as their tool function. ENFPs and ESFPs. Polar is 7th slot. It's your blind spot, and it's something they call it, your blind spot. And it really is almost blind. Like, you're very confused about what it is even. I tend to, sometimes I'll be like, see, FE, FI. And people will go like, that's not FI, Eric, that's FE. And I just kind of got to scratch my head and go, well, I guess probably they're right. I mean, who cares? FI doesn't matter anyway. You know, that's my general attitude towards it, because it's my blind spot, and everybody's like that about their blind spot. They're so bad at it. They're so unaccustomed to using that attentional manner, basically, that they don't feel any sense of loss regarding it, you know. And they tend to have the siren phenomenon, as I've described before. Tool being second, Sheila. Tool second. Your program function, which is also called base or dominant function, is your first function. And your tool function, which is almost always called your tool function, is your second function. Your third function is sometimes called tertiary. I usually call it your scorecard function or something like that, or absolute value function. The third function says, if something happens that makes me really happy, in other words, if along the lines of a given attentional manner, I'm achieving success in some regard, then what's going to make me feel like, yes, I've got paid off, okay? For me, it's the affirmation and general well-liking of me by other people. Whenever that happens, and I can tell it's genuine, or if it's like, the best thing that can happen to me are things where other people give an involuntary reflexive response that affirms me. So, for example, laughing really hard at a joke reflexively, like without any, a real honest belly laugh or something, that really makes me feel good when I make people laugh. And people, or it's like, if in the live moment I do or say something that I can see on somebody else's face, like that they're impressed or surprised or wow, that really makes me feel good, So those things that's what it means to have that is my absolute value. And thanks, Black Ceiling. Thank you. You too are a special guy. So the third function then is the absolute value for your own payoff. So if you have, say, third function SE, Sheila, if you're an ENFJ, then that means you really feel paid off when you get shit done, when you do shit. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, third function you do have a lot of fun with. It's where, well, it's because it's where you get paid off. Whatever it is you're doing with your third function, if it's going well, you're getting paid. If it's going badly, you're losing money. Let's see. Polar equals place of least resistance, right? That's what it stands for. And there's no vowel after the L. It's just POLR. Okay. Can you highlight the difference between SE fourth and polar? That's always a tricky one to parse out. It's like I typically will go, all right, well, that function's either 4 or 7, because it takes a little while to distinguish between the weaker ones. Now, the difference is the fourth one is conscious and you can employ it and you do understand it. You just don't at first value it very much. In fact, a lot of times at first you'll countervalue it when you're younger. So a young ENTP will be like, okay, I am so done with this sleeping and eating and paying attention to my body shit. I'm so tired of having to sleep or go to the bathroom. It is such a waste of my fucking time. I'm done with it. I'm just not going to do it anymore. But of course they have to. And then eventually as you get older you're an ENTP and you get your fourth slot SI, you start to recognize that living a balanced life and being overall happy means being a little less fully stimulated, excited all the time. Like, because what the action types want, they want massive stimulation. Action types, whether they're NE or SE, would just love wartime. I've often thought that the way that I could possibly go through life with no changing of my head at all, no intoxicants, no weed, no Adderall, nothing, would be in a war zone where you're constantly living in the moment and you could die at any moment. So you're free. You're free and you're alive in full because bullets are flying and there's no time for musing, so to speak. But of course, the less exciting the world is, which is good when it's not, you want a peaceful world, obviously, but the less exciting the world is, the more stimulation action types seek. And they can seek that stimulation in a couple of different ways. Your extroverted intuitors, though, living on the metaphysical plane, are going to seek that stimulation through drugs, probably. ESTPs will too, but ESTPs also have at their disposal things like, I'm going skydiving, I'm going windsailing, or that fucking wingsuiting. Have you guys heard about wingsuiting? These people put on these wingsuits, which are just basically suits with webbing, like, go from the arm to the leg. And they have parachutes on too, okay? And they jump off the edge of mountains and they fly down like on wingsuits. And like they die all the time. I mean, it's like, because they try to like fly through, like, here's a rock that's got a hole in it, and they try to fly through it and then they miss and they're dead. Yeah, just suicide with extra steps is right, Zanzi. Okay, so to see SJS's foresight of the mind is an outcome of ENTJ TE trying to decompose an idea TI like and end up decomposing it without the legitimacy that TI actually driven by. That's not a bad way of putting it, but I would say that it's an attempt by it's an NI thing that's a problem there rather than a TE thing. So we talked about Sherlock Holmes, right? And how he takes the fact that this boot print here has a little deformity to it, and this other clue over here, to realize that it's a person from this industry who did it, and then understand that there's a linkage here through this person's business to this other weird thing because blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, that's great if you're Sherlock Holmes and you're a detective and you can ascertain at the end of the case whether you were right or wrong for sure, because the guy cracks under questioning and goes, "Oh, you caught me, Sherlock Holmes. Oh, boo-hoo-hoo." Or there's some sort of other incontroversial evidence, right? But if you're an NI user and you're dealing with shit that doesn't play out like that. It's not a singular instance, but rather an ideational web that is designed to explain how attentional manners work in general, then your NI is not going to be very effective unless it's conjoined by a lot of TI, because the TI needs to be there to check it and go, no, NI, you're wrong. No, NI, you're wrong. No, NI, you're wrong. And then, so for an NE user like me with TE, I don't start with NI. I start with, well, here's a possible thing that might be wrong, and here's a possible thing that might be wrong, and here's another possible thing that might be wrong. And then my TI goes, yep, wrong, wrong, wrong. Wait, that one seems like it might withstand some scrutiny. So, it's the NI that's the problem there. The NI with the lack of TI. He doesn't want things to have to be reducible and deconstructible, because NI, a lot of the holistic truths that NI presents to a person are not really deconstructible or reducible. Like the fact that that's a good song and this is a bad song is an NI thing, but it's not really reducible or deconstructible. It doesn't mean it's not right. So there are some songs that are genuinely just better than other songs. Like, it was so obvious when we were listening at this wedding we went to the other night, where the DJ did a pretty damn kick-ass job. Most of the songs he was playing were great. A lot of wedding songs, like classics, sing-along songs, Sweet Caroline, stuff like that, whatever. But then amongst those, he played this horrible fucking, I think it's by Usher, this horrible song that goes, look what I can do with my feet. Me, you, and the dance floor. You know that song? Me, you, and the dance floor. I don't know if it's called that, but that's its basic thing, right? And it so stood out as inferior amongst all the songs around it. It was so obviously the case. And NI tells me this. Can I deconstruct that reality and explain to you in a logically defensible way why that song was genuinely not as good? No, it's resistant to TI in that fashion. Aesthetic truths don't allow a person to reduce and deconstruct them in that fashion and say anything meaningful about it. You could point to this and add a bunch of music theory shit or whatever, but it wouldn't be meaningful. Okay, so let's see. Hambone says, if you don't, I don't know if you have already, but you should break down everyone's absolute value function in a video. I should. I haven't, and that's a good suggestion. Thank you. And I was like, this is probably right. This will probably work. Yeah, it says it latches onto what it feels is holistically correct, but it's not always right. I mean, that's the thing about NI is as an NI ignorer, I only really trust my NI about music in general. Things that are explanatory, I don't trust it. I trust my NI in regards to media, aesthetics, actually all aesthetics in general. I think I've got good NI in that regard. But, I don't have to defend it because it's not reducible, like I said. Okay. What situations have you seen ESTJs use their NE? My dad's an ESTJ, and he uses his NE in coordination with his ignoring SE, which means he likes to travel a lot. He likes to book timeshare time at locations in different places. That ideally the thing is, he's an SI tool user. So he settled into a few different places that he keeps going back to and stuff. He's also uses NE by, it's kind of a weird way to use it, but by sort of collecting packages of ideas, which is more of an SI-TE way of using it. It's like he'll learn about this philosophy idea or something, and he'll explain what he's learned about it to me. And but in this fashion, he's engaging his idea sense, right? Like, but it's not really great NE. The other thing about another way that occurs, it's my lighter. Another way that occurs is I just said there goes my lighter. Is like my friend Al Areno. He's an ESTJ, and he always learned guitar and stuff by learning a bunch of scales and learning the chords. And I learned the chords too, but he learned scales and he knows. He's like, that's okay. I got this. He's like, okay, so what key are we in? And okay, am I going to be using a Dorian scale here or Mixolydian? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I don't know what key we're in. I don't know what those scales are. I have no idea.
No, Ellerina, what you need is a personality adjustment.
But he's very interested in making music now. He's gotten older. He's really starting to develop his NE and record some stuff. But he really wants it to be a TE thing. He wants to know the formula.
Then be nicer.
But there's no formula. So it's kind of stunted. Kind of stunted NE in that regard. Just like I guess my FE is kind of stunted. How big is introvert versus extrovert when typing? I am such an introvert in every sense. So how can I be a EXXXX? Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by introvert, right? A lot of people define introvert as quiet. My brother-in-law, Ruben, he's introverted seeming in a lot of ways, but there's no doubt in my mind he's an ESFJ. Kim thinks he might be an ISFJ like her, but he's definitely not. You know how you can tell?
How?
He'll go a long time without eating, not complain about it or anything. Like yesterday when we left court and I went and I bought his lunch, he was starving to death. He wasn't going to say anything about it. He wasn't going to do anything about it because he's an FE Dom, not an SI Dom. There's lots of other reasons why I think he's an FE Dom. He just is. He's way more FE than you.
So you think once he gets back on his feet, he'll
be more extrovert. Because he's an FE Dom, he's displaying very chill right now. He's just managing the FE perfectly. He's doing a great job of it. And my dad does make a bunch of dad jokes too. He makes textbook dad jokes.
A bunch of TE jokes that nobody gets but him.
No, he doesn't really make TE jokes. He makes any jokes that are bad, like puns and stuff. Okay. When you're talking about concrete things with music and it's being good, isn't that more FI? I don't agree with you, LJ. FI is the specific feeling that a given song might evoke from me. And some good songs are like, fuck yeah, let's go kick ass. And some good songs are like, oh, I'm so sad and she left me. Those are different FIs, but the same reality is that they're both great songs. And the great song aspect of it that bridges over various emotions is the NI part of it. It may be NI true because in part of how FI resonant something is. That is definitely true, but that's not the only factor. And yeah. Okay. Do you think people are born with personalities? The upbringing shapes a personality. I am really conflicted on this. I believe that my daughter was born as an action type. So probably extroverted intuition, maybe extroverted sensing. There's some dispute about whether she's an ENTP or an ESTP. I've had some people try to say she's an ESFP, but if that were the case, she wouldn't have been such a fish in water in her conditional logic class, which she was. She was right at the top of the class and was complaining that they were going so slow and stuff like that. That would not be the case if she had polar TI. So I know she's got tool function TI, and I just don't know for sure that she's an ENTP, although I think she is. She's hot. If you haven't seen Delilah, she's smoking hot. Like kind of ridiculously so. It's strange as a father to have the kind of daughter that men look at on the street. But I can't really blame them because, you know, she's got the kind of body that women go, that's not possible and that's not fair. She's tallish, but not super tall. She's got big old titties. She's skinny though, and she's got hips that go out like that. So, okay, I'll show you a picture. You just got to go. She's on videos. You just got to look. Just go to my channel search Delilah, and you'll see her. So I haven't scheduled it yet, but I really want it to happen. She is home today. I might be able to get that to happen today. I would love to have her come out here during this live stream even and answer questions from the chat and have you guys type her. Let me see if I can get her out here. What is she doing right now? It's hard to get her out here. She's and for no good reason either. She always enjoys it when she comes out here, but she's just so like, I don't want to commit to anything ever. You know, it's kind of annoying. Let's see. Why is the tool function known as the tool function? Because it's the thing you willfully use to solve every problem. So when you ask that question, I'm using TI with my NE right now to answer that question and understand, well, why is it called tool? What does tool mean? And oh, it means this. And we talk about it as a tool function because we use it like a tool. It's basically the hammer we carry around with us everywhere. The dominant function is the us, and the tool is the hammer. And let's see. I'm fully embodied the weak so much that I kill the weak. Do you kill people by embodying them? That's an interesting murder technique. Do you mean that they're so taken by your impersonation of them that they cease to be and you become they? That's interesting. That's an interesting superpower. Being a better me than me shames me into non-existence. I think our preferences are set at birth. A.K. judging, action, knowing, interface. And then we decide which ones we like best through trial and error. I think it might be true also that our dominant function is set. Now that's a little bit different than what you said there, Hambone, but I think it might be the case that our dominant function is set up right away. We come out with it, but that we could go FI or TI, you know, depending on what happens in our life. And I think in that instance, it would be an issue of like, if what I want is taken care of really well by my parents, they're very attentive to what I want, then I don't need to pay attention to what I want. So I can pay attention to what makes sense. But if if I have to pay attention to what I want because I'm not getting it right away, then I end up being more about FI. But it's just a random thought. It's not even worth mentioning, really. I don't know is the answer to the question. I've thought about it plenty, but I just don't really have a good answer for you. Hambone, can you please provide us the link? How would an ESTJ parent raise an INTP child, and what conflicts would come out of it? I mean, I think they'd be perfect with each other. They're duals. My mom is an ISFJ, my dual, and my relationship with her was amazing. It was an amazing parent-child relationship. Like, we just loved each other a lot. She loved and affirmed me all the time and told me I was smart and funny and wonderful. And we never had lasting conflict. If we had a fight, it ended with both of us admitting where we were wrong and hugging and saying we're sorry and stuff. I would imagine an ESFJ INTP would be equivalent. Do you have any questions for us, Eric? That's a good question, LJ. Let me let that percolate for a second. I want Lovely and Pakoki to type like you said. I want that too. That would be super cool. But I'm really bad at putting shit like that together. It requires me to take some sort of action. Maybe if I do it right now with everybody watching, I'll do it. What would I have to do to do that? I have to say, pick a time, but I have to talk to Delilah first. See, this is why. The TE of shit, I fucking hate it. Okay, like here's an example of hating TE. I came out here earlier. I tried to look up a new weed store to go to. I found one. Then I got the address on Holt Avenue. And then when I got it to go, I was gonna like put it on my phone or something to remember it, but I didn't have my phone here. I didn't want to go back in the house to get the phone, so I drove down there. By the time I drove down there, I forgot what the address was. I knew it was 500 something, right? And I couldn't find it, so I drove back home. I thought I remember what the address was, but it wasn't there. So obviously I had the wrong address or it was shut down. I wasn't sure. I came back home. I realized I had the wrong address. Again, I don't go get my phone. This time I'm just going to sure remember it. And all because I don't want to walk into the house to get my phone. That's fucking countervalue TE at its finest. Thank you, Kimberly, for this delicious feast. Kimberly made this bomb-ass pulled pork that is just spectacular. It's better today too. I think she put this coleslaw stuff and these crispy onions on these pulled pork sandwiches. Oh my god. We should open our restaurant selling these things. They're so good. You're right, Sheila. What situations could lead a type to skip the use of its primary judging function if that even happens? Well, you don't skip it, but when you're using your fourth function, you're not really using your first. So usually they work in kind of quick coordination with each other, but sometimes you'll go for extended periods where you're just attending by one and not the other. For example, if I'm sitting here really immersed in NE, then I'm not realizing that my foot's gone to sleep and I need to move my leg or something, you know. That's ignoring the SI entirely because I'm so immersed in NE. But the same thing can happen with SI too. There are periods of time when I'm really trying to pay attention to how good it feels to be in the bath and what my body feels, the tingles in my body and stuff like that. That's just spending my attention on, I'm actually paying attention to SI, right? My introverted sensing of what I feel inside of me and on my body. Let's see here. You should eat something ham bone. If you're an NTP and you haven't eaten in a while, you really need to eat.
And Karen B wants to give me advice.
Okay. Please give. Okay, there's a question. That's my first question, LJ, that I'm going to ask. I'll get back to your question in a little bit, Joey. But Karen B, I want to ask you, what question do you want to ask Kim? Or what advice do you want to ask? What advice do you want to give Kim?
LJ doesn't want to hear about your tangles.
Adderall makes you tingle. It's nice. Oh, Ron Z. Stay strong. Stay strong, brother. The question is, what advice do you have to give Kimberly about dealing with an ENTP? Let's say one of her problems is, I always want her to agree with me. What would you say?
Evie! Call her.
How do you argue against SI, for example, people telling you that you will definitely change habit X because they changed that habit when they got older? Well, I guess it would only be true if you yourself are an SI type who's likely to engage with something in a similar fashion, right?
Come here.
So you're right. That's an SI argument on my part. When I go, I've gotten better with SI over time, and you probably will too when you get older.
Get over here.
I don't see any spider. That is an SI argument. In fact, a lot of the arguments I make and a lot of the conclusions I draw begin as simple SI extrapolations. Well, here in my experience with my ISFJ, Kimberly behaves like this. Can I extrapolate out from that and conclude the others that it's the quality of ISFJs or the quality specific to Kimberly? The thing is, I always ask myself that question. And if it doesn't withstand TI scrutiny, then the answer is the former. And if it does, then it's the latter. Curtis, that is so right about ISFJ. The picky king who isn't impressed with tonight's entertainment. Oh my God. So true. What about a question about FE? Somebody asked. I said I was going to come back to it. Joey, could you please explain the extroverted feeling function works? Extroverted feeling works by paying attention to how other people are going to respond to what you're doing and saying. It also pays attention to social status and hierarchy and the approximations of ontological legitimacy. So the approximations are competence and warmth. Right now, I'm displaying a fair amount of competence in answering these questions. I seem comfortable. I seem relaxed. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. Nothing in my tone conveys that I'm struggling to come up with answers for these things. And there's a lot of other indirect cues that I'm giving that would convey competence. An FE user, let's say an FE Dom, is going to conclude I'm competent based on those cues. They're going to have a very nuanced and complete understanding of those cues, but that's what they're going to be using to determine the competency of me. Somebody who has TI on top is going to determine my competency by evaluating the legitimacy of the TI. They're going to check to see if what I'm saying makes sense, if it's consistent with other stuff. They're going to try to find ways in which it's inconsistent. A TI Dom is going to be looking the whole time for things that they can dispute and negate because of some other argument. So it's an argumentational manner of attention. FE cares a lot about other people in the sense that it's an egalitarian function. It doesn't like to see people treated poorly, or it wants everybody to be happy. It's built on the fundamental assumption that people don't like suffering and they do like to be happy, that people have wants and drives and desires. And if you understand those well enough, you can understand the person's behavior. But it gets misapplied a lot of times to argumentation. Just because you can understand my behavior and my motivational calculus doesn't mean you can determine anything about whether my arguments are correct or not. So that's where FE runs afoul of TI. Okay, hopefully that's enough of an answer for that. If you could have dinner with 4 people alive or dead, who would they be? Alive or dead, huh? Well, I guess it would depend on my mood, sort of. But let me think about that for a second as well. Okay. If she said, if you were right, Eric, you were right, I would say, and that's exactly the question where I'm attempting to resolve here. Am I or not? Where did I learn MBTI from? The internet. You know, random places. I picked up little bits here and there, everywhere, talking to people, thinking about stuff, making cheese. Hey, Taylor. Nice to see you. Eric, I watched one of your videos where you said INTJs make squirrely arguments in debate. Could you give a short example? I don't necessarily agree with that anymore. If I did say that, I think that they can. I mean, INTJs try to build as watertight a case as they can, and they know their app well, and they try to be flexible on eggs as much as they can. They're slower getting good than the NTPs, but they end up getting just as good, or if not better sometimes. Do all INTJs look stone cold on the outside? Not to me. I don't see them as cold. I see them as FE polar. Okay, so about this switching stuff. I actually agree with you, Tim Bulware, in the sense that it is possible to, what I would call, switch to FE mode, you know? I don't know if that makes me an ISFJ, but in those moments when I'm switching to FE mode, I'm prioritizing the interfacing of FE over the judging of TI. And by interfacing with FE, I basically shut down my other action function because I'm using the interface function to do the action. And so in that capacity, I'm a lot more like an ISFJ. I wouldn't say I'm switched to ISFJ in those moments, but I get what you're saying, that it certainly is possible to, and it usually requires me to walk into the situation thinking that initially, like going, okay, I'm going to FE this, in which case I do successfully. And I'm paying more attention to them and less attention to me. And, well, like at the weed store I do, like I did today, it gets me extra weed. Evie, come here. Evie, come here. Get up here. Come on. Come on, up here. Shh. Sit. Dog. You know, I go in there and chat up the weed lady. Let me tell you, if you're looking for a subpopulation of people who scores very low on math tests, bud tender girls. Bud tender girls are strangely inept about math. Okay, let me give you the story about today. There was a jar. There were, there's different jars of weed. All there's a $15 shelf, there's a $10 shelf, there's a $5 shelf per gram. Okay, this place normally you never pay $15 a gram, but this place had $15 a gram shit, which I'm certainly not gonna buy. I got the $5 gram shit because I smoke too much weed to buy that expensive shit. Even if I get expensive shit, I still smoke the same amount of weed. So maybe I get higher, but whatever, it's not worth it. Anywho, I told the lady, I'm like, I want 10 grams of this Master Yoda, this $5 stuff. And she's like, I was like, okay, well, I'll get 10 grams of that. And she's like, yeah, 10 grams for 50, right? She's like, we're doing 8 grams for 40 today. I said, okay, that's fine, then I'll do that. I mean, it's $5 a gram. I want 10 grams for 50. And she tells me that they're doing 8 grams for 40 today. Well, what is going through? I mean, yeah, it's adorable, isn't it? And then the thing is, they always give you a little bit more than you buy, right? So when they weigh it out, They have a little scale there. They put the weed in the jar or whatever, and then it just gets like 8 grams. They'll give you like 8.3 or something. They always give you a little bit over. I gotta shut this fucking dog up. Hold on. Anyway, she ended up giving me 10 grams. So, I don't know. Evie, come here. Evie, come here. Come here. Stand there. No. Evie, come here. You shut up. No barking. Okay, so let's see. Do you think people describe the effects of smoking weed as being able to think outside the box because it stimulates the intuitive functions, or do you think that is related to other effects? I think that's just bullshit. I don't think it makes you think outside the box. I think what it does is it slows me down a little bit in my brain, enough so that I can pay attention to things a little bit better. So in the morning, when I wake up, and like right now, my knees are bouncing. Both my knees are bouncing up and down like this. I don't know if you guys can see it in my shoulders or not, but I'm like that intellectually too. When I wake up in the morning, I go to Google News and it's like I can't even like click on something long enough to read it barely. It's just like, this is, yeah. And I smoked some weed and I'm like, oh, that seems interesting. Slowed me down just enough to settle into something. It's a settler. That's what they should call it. A settler. So, yeah, yippee dog needs to not be yippee or else I'm going to go scold its ass. Okay, can somebody explain to me why C.S. Joseph is using Freudian terminology, superego, in a Jungian framework? What he describes as the superego sounds a lot like what Jung called anima possession. Bum, bum, bum. How about you, Taylor? Do you sometimes prioritize FE over TI? If so, do you think it's just Eric or is it all EXTP? Good question, G. Gee. I guess you're Gee, huh? For me, weed activates SE or just sensory. It brings me to the present. Well, I guess you could say the same thing about me, LJ, is that it brings me to the present in the sense that it slows me down, slows my mind down. It's a little bit less racy. I think I tend to be acting manipulatively if I'm using FE over TI. Well, that's what I was doing in the weed store in a way, but just being extra nice in the weed store and paying attention to the girl, like saying something nice about her, like, oh, I like your fingernails or something like that. That's just, it's being a little manipulative, I guess. But if it gets you a little bit of extra weed when they do the extra way, then it's worthwhile. I mean, you know. Oh, Matthew, I see you taking the Bud Tendress math class. I mean, I get your point, actually, but there's no bulk buy there. That's how much it is. It doesn't matter how many grams you buy. What do you think is an ideal age to test someone? 2 months. 2 months old. That way they cannot possibly be gaming the test. Do I like seafood? No. I don't use FE, I just lie. Cynthia, oh, weed makes me hallucinate. I wish I could get that weed. Okay, now between two worlds, if your bestie is being manipulative, Wag your finger at them. So you mentioned how INTP and ENTJ can make a good business relationship, possibly friendship, but how does a romantic dynamic work differently? Well, I would suggest that there'd be some conflicts there in the sense that, first of all, INTP seeks their partner to provide an FE thing for him. And, you know, I got to see in a way today in which ESFJ needs and receives that TI. Like this morning, I was talking to Ruben, and I got to see how the TI helps to impact improve the FE of the ESFJ. So he was kind of joking, I guess, probably, but he's working for his cousin, and his cousin said he's going to pick him up at 6:30, and hey, Evie, stop it! I'm going to put a muzzle on you. Come here. Come here. Evie, come here. Dog. So the INTP would provide for an ESFJ, for example, that TI. Ruben was like, why isn't, I hope he's, you know, like 6:30 means 6:30. I mean, geez, I'm going to scold him or something. I think he was joking, but about basically wasting his time. And I said, hey, listen, make sure you don't say anything about it until after you determine he's not going to pay you for the extra 15 minutes. Because if you do try to say something, and he's like, I was going to pay you for that, dude, then you're going to feel like an asshole. That's any TI helping an ESFJ maximize their FE, and it shows what it means in a way to be seeking TI. It's not just to be seeking the TI, it's to be able to latch that onto your dominant function and have them both supercharged by that reality. Sometimes it's just smart to use FE over TI. Good point, Love Lou. Let's see. Have you considered joining CS Joseph Discord server? No. Why would I want to do that? It would be awkward. What am I going to say to him? You know, if he wants to argue his points, I've already thrown down the gauntlet plenty of times. He can come over here and argue them with me or invite me there to argue them with him. But I'm not just going to show up and mess up his party for no reason. What is the best way to differentiate an INFJ from an INTJ? I mean, it's such an easy, it's so easy. It's like, look for FE. I mean, if an INTJs don't have good FE at all, they'll seem awkward and kind of stilted and kind of robotic and whatever else. J Superpowers versus Eric Supercharger. CT Joey. I don't know what CT means. The Joey guy? Well, what does CT mean, though? CF? Oh. Or I don't know what you mean. And to be honest, I don't think he cares and CS just as mind. He knows what he is and he's moved on. Yeah, probably. He doesn't care. It's not relevant to what he's trying to accomplish, right? And that's TE, ultimately. He's driven by his TE and his NI. He has a clear, singular understanding of what he's trying to accomplish, the path he's trying to take. Hey, where are you? Get over here. You need to stop that noise making right now. Freaking dog. Curtis, have you been reading my mind? How did you find out about my next tattoo? C.S. Joseph's face is a tramp stamp. That's my next tattoo. How did you know? You haven't answered the INTP ENTJ question. Oh, I got distracted. Right. So I think that's where the problem would be, is that the ENTJ ultimately wouldn't provide the FE that the INTP is looking for. The ENTJ's FE is purposeful for the ENTJ. It's not something that he uses to provide the same equivalent sort of thing that I provided for ESFJ this morning, which is the TIFE combo punch there. That thing that I described wouldn't happen between ENTJ and INTP, because the ENTJ is only using FE reflexively and as needed and for its purposes. So I think that's the problem, is INTP wouldn't get what they seek. Now what ENTJ seeks is FI, and it's exactly the same situation, which is the FI is the 8th slot function for the INTP. So instead of getting FI that's collaborative, like they would get from an ISFP, they get FI that's self-serving in the INTP. So I think that's where the problem would arise. Bruce Wayne, he literally said in a live stream that he's doing it because the advertisement for MBTI is good. Okay. It's really tragic because he's probably one of the best examples out there of expressive TE. He has a talent of pulling data together. I agree. He's obviously done a lot of data presentation. Who's hotter, ESFP or ESTP? ESFP. ESTPs tend to be dudes. But even chick ESTPs, I find myself, it's like there's something incestuous about it. I don't know. Your girlfriend is your supervisor? Oh, Taylor, are you with your supervisor? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's got to be rough. But you guys seem to manage just fine. I guess you need the supervision. ESFP, ESTP are too smart. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it just feels, there's nothing, I don't find ESTP chicks sexually attractive at all. They're the action-y one, right? I don't want to be with a chick who's action-y. I want to be with a chick who's receiving-y, you know? Yeah, I would say that is suggestive of SE, the thinker. My sister used to be pretty good at lip syncing. Is it suggestive of SE? Probably. I'm iffy about lip syncing. Okay, well, you're probably not an action type then, between two worlds. You're probably either a judging type or an interface type or a knowing type. I don't remember what anybody is ever. In my defense, he probably needs a CT on his head, a CAT scan. Are you and Chad planning on making videos together? No, but I wouldn't have no problem doing so. I like Chad. I respect Chad a lot, and I like the fact that I like Chad and I respect Chad because he's an ENTJ, and so I'm not anti-ENTJs. I just, how would you think a female ISFP male INFJ relationship would play out? I don't think it would really. I mean, I think that the INFJ would enjoy the SE that they get from the tool function of the ISFP. The ISFP would enjoy the NI wealth of the environment for their third slot NI, could take advantage of the first slot NI environment to feel more realized, I guess, for the ISFP. I'm starting to think maybe it's not such a bad idea. TE fourth slot with polar TE. Well, neither of you care that much. It's kind of like sixth slot and seventh. except fourth slot's probably a little less active than sixth. So that would probably work fine. Let's see. Then on the other end of it, ISFP is seeking TE. But I see, okay, so it would work fine for the INFJ with that fourth slot seventh, but it wouldn't work fine for the ISFP with that fourth slot seventh, because the ISFP would constantly be seeking how to do shit, an NI about how to do shit from the INFJ, and they'll instead be getting NI about their ignoring function, how to do shit socially. So that's going to be a problem there. The ISFP is going to feel like they're not getting what they seek in the relationship, whereas the INFJ is going to feel like they are getting what they seek in the relationship. The ISFP will get resentful and eventually leave or cheat. One of the two. Conk wants a bagel. Yes, he does. He likes the bagel inside of his hugs. Are certain types... Hey, Evie, you better shut up. No noise making. Let's see. INTPs get pissed off when people do NI on them. That's true. You've said in the past that TE involves real-time spatial awareness. Is parallel parking TE or SE? Or both? Both. TE, I guess, probably both. Yeah, it's a good example of both. Hey, might be late, and you probably answered, what type do you think C.S. Joseph is? C.S. Joseph's an ENTJ. INFJ, INTP make good friends, not romantic partners. Please pardon the pejorative. Okay. It is pardoned. Your pejorative is considered absolved. I don't know what pejorative it was. Which type would you realize sense and care a lot about being treated differently and not equal by someone else? That'd be an FE type or an FI type. FI DOMs would be concerned because they'd see it as a lack of respect for the unique value and particularist whole that is each individual. The FE DOM would see it as problematic because FE is sort of, it expects everybody to follow to adhere to uphold the same fundamental principles as is consistent with a harmonious society. That is to say, general politeness, friendliness, and not being mean and stuff like that. Yeah, you need to sit and be quiet. Okay, hey, stop it. Is there anyone here from C.S. Joseph server? If yes, what's your nickname there? Zep310, Daniel Lutheran. These personality types are fake. There's no scientific evidence they were created by two housewives. Jesus was an ENTP. I agree with Taylor on that one. Yeah, I know. I just try to explain to the dog. She needs to listen to me. When I grab her, I give her a fucking little lecture. And dogs explain and understand lectures just fine. Man, I can't seem to catch it. I'm black too. Is that 310? I'm a black man, black man. I'm black, I'm African American. I am. You guys, did you know that, Zeph? 310? How do you spot an NI user? Well, that's a difficult question to ask, because you're saying, how do you spot someone with NI in the first, second, third, or fourth slot? And that's too broad of a question to ask. It's easier to say, like, to spot somebody in a particular slot. I'm about to go smack your ass, Evie, if you don't stop that fucking whimpering. So let's see. You misspelled principal, Catherine Fisher. You misspelled principal. It's not like living with your principles. It's like living with your principal. Remember, that's how you spell it. The principal is your pal. Hey, you stop. You need to stop it. I am so tired of hearing your voice. No. No, you will not. You will stop making noise. Stupid dog. Sit right here. You're not going anywhere. Okay, there. Now she's happier. Okay, now I'm reading this ridiculous nonsense here. Okay. Where do I find an ESFJ mommy girlfriend? Good question, Hambone. That's exactly what you need if you're an INTP, is a mommy girlfriend, okay? ENTPs need them as well. It's called a mommy friend or a girl mom or just mommy is fine. The answer is, I don't know, but go, okay, if you can find some sort of Pinterest aficionado Facebook group, you should join that. There might be an ESFJ Facebook group, in which case you should join that and say, I am, and when you, this is how you win them over. You go, I don't know. I just can't seem to keep track of my schedule. I've got this important thing going to happen, but I hope I remember it. Gosh, until somebody offers to help you, okay? And then you're in. You're in like Flynn. I just can never successfully accomplish SIFE things enough to solve this problem with my penis. I'll help. Africa. They played that at the wedding. Yeah, some chick will be like, I've got to help him. I've got to. I simply have to. What happened to Opaloid? That's the mystery of 2019 that nobody can solve. What happened to Opaloid? Oh, where did he go? Odin owns ye all. Does he? Does he have the pink slip on me? Eric's pink slip. I think displaying some sort of TI attracts FE down. Yes, you got to throw some TI in there, you know. I'm in the middle of doing this fancy talk TI thing, and I'm really concerned about my inability to present it well to others or some other SIFE related thing. I sure do wish there was some kind of solution. Some would fall from the sky for me. I'll help. I'll help. Jesus to be black. Yeah, don't throw out the Jews with the bathwater, okay? That's what they say. That's the old saying. Don't throw out the Jews with the bathwater. I will remember that. Thank you. I honestly thought it was most principal, but the person type is principal. Yeah, that's how I remember, because my mom taught it to me that way. She's like, just remember, Eric, the principal is your pal. I still remember it. Why do FE users love TI users? Well, it's FE DOMs love TI DOMs. It's not true that FE users love TI users as a general rule. I mean, Kimberly is an FE second slot, likes TI second slot, ideally for her, is because I'm her dual. But it's more complicated than that. So it's like an ESFJ is not necessarily going to be smitten with an ISTP, even though the TI is the same. And the reason is because of the third slot NE. An ESFJ with their third slot absolute value NE is looking ultimately for an environment in which they can attain results with their FE. So they need to have the other person either have I mean, I'm sorry. They're looking to attain results with their any in the third slot. So they need the other person to have some sort of present an ecosystem in which there's some fertile ground in which any can grow. And ISTP is going to be contrary to that. So they're not going to work out with them. So in that regard, it's not exactly TIFE. You have to factor in the intuition, sensing aspects of things as well. You need to stop making noise. Okay. Thanks, Net News Ireland. You're really correct about that. That's third slot bad FE, right? It was after I said it, I was like, that's not going to play well. Connor Houlihan from Net News Ireland. Do I watch the Super Bowl? I watched the playoff games on Sunday. This last Sunday, I watched the Rams win in unlikely fashion. If you're familiar with the football game, the Rams had a no call at the end of it that was terribly in our favor and not appropriate to the circumstances, really. But when it happened, this is how you know it was a foul. As soon as I saw the play, before anything else was said or done, I said, no foul, no foul, which, being a Rams fan, means there was definitely a foul there. I don't say that on most plays. I just say that on plays where there's a foul. So, well, I'd be happy to be interviewed by anybody in Net News Ireland, including you. Where's Kimberly? She's working right now. She has a client. She does hair. She's a hairdresser. And we have a salon here at our house. And she goes and cuts people's hair and or dyes it or gives them perms, things like that. Ladies mostly. Okay. Why are you awake? It's tomorrow over here? Oh. I don't really like kids. I never have. I'll never have any kids of my own. I appreciate them in terms of their use. That's not the only thing they're useful for, LJ. Putting them in child labor camps. What about that? Have you thought about that? I can make them more useful. But society doesn't like this perspective of mine. I like it, LJ. I think it's fun. Rams gonna get BTFO by Brody. I also tend to think that Brady, who's Brody's brother, will Brady and his friends there on the New England Patriots will probably win the Super Bowl. If I had to bet on the game, I'd bet on the New England Patriots over the Los Angeles Rams. The ESTJ ladies I know tend to like ESTJs. Well, you're on night shift, so running a massive news business is quite hard. Well, I'd be happy to be interviewed by you anytime. Do you have my email address or my phone number? My email address is ssuartscire, or Eric Strauss backwards, @gmail.com. And my phone number is 909-720-2261. Yes, I say my phone number on the internet a lot. Nobody ever calls me anyway. What's my favorite color? I don't have one. I guess I would say, okay, Zanzi, you watched that betting. You did just say something insightful and important there. You said that your betting was dirty. That was both insightful regarding your betting and important because one ought to stay clean. Ever seen Assyrian stone carvings of Jews with dreadlocks? Are you kidding me? I carved those myself. I'm the guy who carved them. I don't know if you're aware of this, Zep 310, Daniel Luther's son, but I can time travel. And what do? I go back in time and do a lot of stone carvings because I'm crafty and it's fun. People always mistake them as strange things. It's weird. Okay, great. Email me, call me. That'd be fantastic. Power Red Bull. Eric is in entertainer mode. Power Red Bull, will you stop being so accurate in your assessments of me? I feel a little bit reduced, okay? I'm not just in entertainer mode. I'm also in dog shut-upping mode. Fine, Evie, go run over there and start complaining again. You know, it just means I'm in a good mood, basically. When I'm super, like, bantery and jokey and stuff, it means I'm in a good mood and enjoying myself. I like to chat with people here. I've got a good turnout. I got 45 people here, which is fantastic. 10 thumbs up, which is great. And lots of good stuff to riff off of in the chat. So I'm kind of like in heaven a little bit, you know. We was Kangs and Sheet. What does that mean? Nobody knows. Is Zephaniah a book of the Bible? Zephaniah? You know what, Kimberly, I need to call her Kimberly. I've been scolded about this on a number of occasions. She does not like the fact that I call her Kim and wants me to call her Kimberly. So I'm going to have to try to do so in the future. Yeah, that's really my phone number. It's also like on the channel about page or something. Guy, we're not all black, okay? And I haven't always been in okay, cool. I haven't I haven't always been black, Guy. I've been Chinese, I've been Native American, I've been Mexican a number of times. I was briefly French Canadian. Now, that's a weird race because it comes with an insatiable appetite for trapping fur. Was Jesus a Buddhist monk before he reemerged? He had been defrocked as a Buddhist monk. He was a defrocked Buddhist monk, so it's hard to say. Do I cut my own hair? No, Kimberly cuts my hair. She's a hairdresser after all. Well, what am I drinking? I'm drinking whatever Kimberly poured into this glass, which appears to be like mango Arizona, I think. It's non-alcoholic. I don't drink any alcohol. I've been sober for 5 years. In case you missed the beginning of this where I mentioned that before. A little over 5 years. Angang tier. I'm a Japanese schoolgirl. Really? Do you make that sound all the time when you walk around town? Let's see. There's no Zephaniah in the Bible? Shocking. Taylor, that was good thinking on your part. Little mug. Yes, this is what's known as a mason jar. Except this one has a handle on it. Normally, a real mason jar doesn't have a handle on it. So this is like a glass that's been styled as a mason jar. You are kawaii? I don't know what that is. You sure you are not an anime pillow? I see. Well, Japanese schoolgirls do tend to be cute. Are you actually a Japanese schoolgirl, like in school? In which case, I'm going to have to stop making jokes. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's not the final evolution of Japanese schoolgirl. Okay, there are evolutions far beyond that. What religion am I? I would say I'm broadly Christian. Broadly. Broad as a board of plywood. Dwarven piss. Bruce Wayne, that would have been such a better answer to give as to what I was drinking. Dwarven piss. Oh, what kind of Christian am I? Sort of Catholic-y, I guess. Or other kind of Christian. I like Catholics because they got more magic in their shit, you know? Do I dream in color? yes, I dream in color, but I don't really dream in visuals that much. The visuals in my dreams are not very vivid. I don't have good imaging capacity in my brain in general. And, I was raised an atheist in that News Ireland. I am Christian as sort of it seems to me the best of the available options for a religion. The only one that really is meaningful in any sense. So might as well. I dream in ideas. I'm like Raul Diego, okay? I just dream in kind of like half-assed images. I don't know what else to say about it, except I don't really see clearly what things look like. They just sort of like, it's practically like you dream and I go to sit on the couch. It's like, it might as well just be the word couch because it's just sort of like a little lump. Yeah, well, I bet the Protestant Irish is like Protestants. I don't, whatever. I have nothing to protest. When you're raised an atheist, you don't have any strong feelings about it, really. I just think that it's strange how people have all these specific subtypes of Christian. You know the fame of Catholic priests and little children? That's the magic. Okay, Bruce Wayne, now listen. Catholicism is more than just child molestation. All right? There's a lot of good things that happen in Catholicism, too. I agree that priests should not be forbidden from marrying. Because here's the deal. I think it's a mistake to... Well, LJ is here hanging around. I don't know how she got out. She must have sold the judge, sweet talk to judge or something. Let's see. It's like, it could be, I suppose, that the reason they start molesting children is because they can't get married. But I think it's much more likely that if you're a child molester, right, and you already know you don't want to fuck women, then you're going to get a job where you're not allowed to fuck women because... then it's like, well, you're not losing. Nobody else wants that job because they want to get laid, right? So who's going to take the job? Guys who don't want to get laid. Who doesn't want to get laid? Child molesters. Not regular get laid anyway. So that's why I'm thinking it's a bad idea, right? That's what I'm thinking. Bad idea to not let them get married. It is a secret, Catherine. It's my biggest secret. My favorite color. All right, I'll give it up. I'll tell it to you guys. It's mauve. My favorite color is mauve. Any hose from Atlanta? Well, for the right amount of money, I can be a hoe from Atlanta. The Irish are descendants of the Black Galatians. Oh, you're such a silly guy, that 310. The priest not being allowed to marry is followed from the Reformation, where church leaders used to leave land to their family, not the church. The church removed the family issue. Oh, that's interesting. Do you think there's a correlation between certain functions of dreaming colors? I don't know. I would suspect that somehow being the sensor means you have more access to higher resolution sensory representation, and intuitives probably have lower resolution sensory representations. I love it. Well, as I mentioned before, I like to give special details and secrets out to people. My penis is mauve, and that's why it's my favorite color, because I love looking at my penis. My butt is puce, by the way. My penis is mauve and my butt is puce. How can they escape from type jail? They didn't know they were going to be looked at by him. Otherwise, they would have worked on being more efficient in their type. Right? There's no escape from type jail in theory. It's like Alcatraz. But in practice, some people try to make the swim across the San Francisco Bay. Slan Agus Benachat. Goodbye in Irish. Well, Slan Agus Benachat to you too, Net News Ireland. We'll get in contact soon with Connor Houlihan. Nat News Ireland, Co Dublin. Okay, cool, great, thanks. I hope that's serious or real. That'd be fantastic. Lying about my favorite color. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. The truth as I imagine it. Okay. The truth as I imagine it is. Listen, don't be slagging on my colleagues down at the Typology jail just because I don't work there. Doesn't mean I'm not going to stand up for them. Okay. They're honest, law-abiding law enforcement officers. They respect the rights of people. Of course they do. God, they're law enforcement officers. What else do law enforcement officers do but respect people's rights? Let's see. But I like your comments, Ozzy. Jail reminds me of the playpens and Rugrats. A trusty screwdriver and distracted parents are all you need to get out. Well said, sir. Well said. Yeah, I know. It's fucking dog, right? What do you dream when I dream? It's like random shit. Like, you know, I dream a lot of SI stuff where I'm like at my grandma's house when I was a kid, but except I'm an adult and something's happening there. Something stupid's happening there. Like, I don't know. There's a rabbit there and I've got to pick it up for some reason. Hey, Evie, where are you? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. All right, I'll hold this dog. When I'm holding it, it won't meow like that. I dream about spiders a lot. What's that about? But they all look weird and shit. Well, spiders are representative of the fact that you want to have sex with your father. It's a weird, it's true. It's a symbol. It's kind of gross. I wish it weren't the case, TJ. I'm a little disappointed in you, but that's what it means. Let's see. You escaped from your cell once. You couldn't escape the whole jail, though. That's funny. I don't like the streamer. He's a straight, cisgendered, privileged white guy. Zep310, you are what's known as a troll. You've been trolling since the moment you got here. I'm sure it's going to be very gratifying for you to watch this back and laugh at your hilarious, racially charged nonsense. But, no. That's nice. I don't know my father, lol. Well, that's probably why you want to have anal with him. Are those pecs real? Yeah, they are. They're real. You think you get these just by sitting around here on the computer? No. I pump. I pump iron all day, every day. I'm constantly bench pressing 500 pounds. Listen, we all have the same father, the Lord. Okay? Am I your only subscriber from Brazil? I have no idea. Are you from Brazil? Your sister had lots of fathers? That's interesting. How did that happen? Sister had lots of fathers. My brother had lots of cats. My mother had lots of lovers. So that's all there is about that. Yeah, it's kind of silly. It's kind of devolved into abstract silliness at this point. If anybody has any other questions, I would be happy to answer questions as well. I was asked if I had any questions to ask you guys. I haven't really asked very many. I asked a few, but I don't really seem to get any answers. You pump tons of irony every day to get strong like Derek. That's good, Kugsa. Long time no see. Kugsa, if you don't know, and you probably don't, Kugsa stands for Contract under Guadalupe Fur Seal. TW, if you're into music, what do you think of 12 tone? I'm not familiar with 12 tone. I've never heard them or of them before. I don't know if I have fertility problems, but I hope I do because I don't want kids. Well, just avoid getting semen in your vagina. Okay, obvious example of NI polar. Well, that's a tough one. It's really difficult to get obvious examples of NI polar. ESFJs have NI polar, and so do ESTJs. It's one of the hardest polars to recognize as such because, you know, it's like the ESFJ, in my mind, my ex-wife leaving me is an example of NI polar. She was an ESFJ. She had a good thing going, better than anything else she was going to get anyplace else. But she grass is greenered, and off she went. To my benefit, but regardless, I would call that an example of NI polar. That sort of thing's hard to, it's hard to lock down, right? Well, you need to stop making that noise. Okay? I'm serious. It's a type of music. It's interesting if you like theory and methodology behind music. I'd probably, oh, you mean 12 tone? You mean like from India kind of music with all those like quarter tones and stuff? I don't know about. I don't like it. I'm sure it has its own kind of NI metaframe in a way, but it's not within my purview of understanding music. So I'm not very fond of it or anything. Not seeing how something will play out. Is that polar NI? No, that's low NE. So like Kimberly with fourth, bye Taylor, with fourth slot NE, she has a tendency to not let things play out, to not trust the process. And I think polar NE probably does as well. To want to know ahead of time all the things you need to know. And you need to stop. I used to have half Chihuahua. Lacey was half Chihuahua. This dog is all Chihuahua, and Lacey was much more chill than this dog. It's weird. It's like when I do this, the dog's chill because I don't know why. Do ISTJs have better FE than INTJs? I would say yes, and I would say the reason for that is because their TE is used to being SI focused. So that is to say, they're knowing how to do things well for themselves and for their own particular shit. Whereas the TE of an INTJ is much more directed universally towards things that are external to them, because the NI is representational knowledge, not experiential knowledge. So as a consequence, they tend to relate it to things outside of their own experience. But what that means is they don't have as clear a link to the self as do ISTJs. And so ISTJs understand their behavior as being a how to accomplish for the self. And that means their FE approximations get better than INTJ's FE approximations. Let's see. How does TE polar show up? Well, that's like Kimberly. I've got some examples. I'm confused. I don't know what even you're referring to here. Hold on. I'll get back to this question about, no, you need to stop. You need to stop. Oh, okay. Well, I don't even know what you're talking about, Catherine. That's fine. Oh, you're talking about the kids thing? Oh, how does TE polar show up? TE polar shows up as when Kimberly notices the cars are not pulled into the driveway, she tells me. She doesn't pull the cars in herself. She says, the cars are out on the street. That's polar TE. What was the thing? Oh yeah, she's a hairdresser, right? She's got this trimmer. That's called a T-blade trimmer. You get two kinds of trimmers when you're a hairdresser. You get the kind that you use on people's heads, and then the kind to make tight lines. So this was called the T-blade one, and it's the one you'd use to make the tight lines. So anyway, it wasn't working earlier. She has there the trimmer and the replacement blade we got when we last got a new replacement trimmer for not a super long time ago. I said, let's get a replacement blade too. And she brings them out to me seriously concerned, not positioning it as this, but genuinely concerned that the thing's broken. It's just not cutting anymore. It's broken. We're gonna have to get a new one of these. Here, but she at least thought to herself, here's the replacement blade. She's like, here's the thing, here's the replacement blade. I don't think this is gonna work anymore. So first of all, it is the amount of know-how it takes to replace this is very low. It requires taking two screws out, pulling the thing out, and putting the new one on, and putting the two screws back in. That's how complicated it is. But she is unable to even conceive of trying to figure out how to replace the blade herself, even though she's a hairdresser and she's been doing it for years. She never replaces the blades. What does she do? She just buy a new fucking trimmer. Because polar TE, that's why. That's polar TE. When her computer got a virus on it, what would she do? Buy a new computer. That's polar TE. She needed her dual to both fix shit like that for her and be okay with it. So the reason I'm okay with doing the TE stuff in general is it's countervalued for me, but mine's better than hers, so I don't mind being helpful with it. And it serves my third slot FE well, so that's cool too, you know? Okay, you need to stop. No more whimpering and no more whining. Shh. If I have a desire to open a broken machine and see if I can figure out how to fix it, and then I actually do, and I'm like, what the fuck did I get myself into? And either do a hack job or then close back up. Is somebody letting their extroverted intuition actually letting their unguarded extroverted sensing be controlled by their runaway extroverted intuition? That's the shit that I do. That's exactly the shit that I do. I open up a broken machine, or it might not even be broken. It might just be not quite perfectly working or something, or working a little less well than it used to. And so I will take it apart, and then not like my electric guitar was working fine until I decided one day I was going to attempt to replace the pickups myself. And it has been in pieces ever since. Oh, well, then that's not necessarily extroverted intuition. That's a TE thing where if you say you do a hack job, just close back up, that's a TE thing. You're saying at a certain point you realize it's more complicated than you think. That sounds like an ISTJ kind of comment what you're making there. But it could be INTJ, like you're realizing that the physicality of this is a little overwhelming. It's hard to say. Does 4-slot TE at least try to do things themselves, or would they just use their ignoring FE since it's still strong? 4-slot FE and 4-slot TE will sometimes. 4-slot TE, your 4-slot, you go, when I really need to attend to the stuff that I really need to attend to, I'm going to use my 4th slot. So I'm going to try to avoid using it most of the time. It's not the fun part of things, but I recognize it as my go-to guy when the shit hits the fan, when shit really goes down. This is my go-to guy, right? So that's where your 4th slot functions. Yes, they will try to do shit if they're under pressure, and all of a sudden, like, oh shit, shit's hanging in the balance. They'll go to their TE, figure out how to do stuff, and then muster a little bit of SE to follow through on it. They'll try to get it as lean as possible in the execution so that they don't have to waste their time. Dolph Dervish says INTP equals interesting, INTJ equals what the fuck? That's a good distinction, Dolph Dervish. That's pretty right on the money. Let's see. At Hambone, physically or intellectually? INTPs can't understand that they're under attack when they're young. Physically or like, I think everybody can understand when they're under physical attack. I mean, it's sort of. It's like, I remember when I was sucker punched by Steve some long time ago, and I remember thinking, like, what? What's going on here? I don't understand. There's nothing to understand, Eric. You're getting punched in the face. Would you agree that ENFPs and ISTPs are opposites? Yeah, for sure. I would say that they're not a good match at all, that's for sure. My sister would be beating on me, and I didn't even put my hands up. Yes, I have Facebook. I'm on there. Eric Strauss. It's either Temple City or Laverne. I think it's still Temple City, maybe. I might change it to Laverne. Yeah, you can find me on there. You can add me as a friend. I don't use Facebook all that often, but I'll probably go back on there and check it today. I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. It's over 2 hours now. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. I'll check Facebook. I'll check my email. If anybody wants to contact me, go for it. And have a pleasant evening. Make sure that you enjoy your life as much as you can before you're dead.